over the violence in Syria and called on all sides to stop the unrest. White House spokesman Jay Carney said the United States was monitoring the situation very closely.
And we are joined over the phone by Mr. Hussain Abdul-Hussain, political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Hussain, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, more than 88 people have been killed so far on Friday in Syria via separate independent counts. How do you see this escalation and the attacking of peaceful protesters in Syria?
I think the Syrian government has just decided to take off its glove. I think this is the final card that President Bashar Assad and his regime can play. After all, the regime has already conceded all that it can concede in lifting, whether it's lifting the emergency law or whether it's other reforms or so-called reforms that Assad has been talking about. So after conceding whatever he conceded, I think now Bashar Assad has nothing further to concede, and he decided, as such, he decided to confront the demonstrators, and we've unfortunately seen a big number of casualties throughout Syria and the demonstrations today.
Right. Now, using excessive force against the demonstrators has proven to be the beginning of the end for regimes in Egypt and Tunisia. Do you think this is the beginning of the end of Bashar al-Assad's regime?
Well, I certainly do. I think no regime can survive on violence alone. And I think this is, analysts are now trying to argue which way this eruption of demonstrations in Syria will go, whether it will go the Egyptian and the Tunisian way or whether it will go the Libyan way. My guess is that this will be just like Egypt. The more pressure will just shake the regime, and Bashar Assad is in no position, whether in terms of available resources or long-term escalation, he's in no position to fight the fight that Muammar Gaddafi is currently fighting. So I think in a few more Fridays, we'll certainly see Bashar on the back foot, and he'd probably be negotiating a way out of this.
Right. I mean, after all, it was the Bloody Friday 3 weeks or a month back in Yemen that really turned the situation around there against Saleh. Now, this is the bloodiest crackdown by security forces loyal to al-Assad against the peaceful protesters. Now, the number of Syrian martyrs are in the hundreds since the move for change started. But do you think really that the Syrian army, which many people believe have the ball in their hands, will turn against al-Assad? I mean, the revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt succeeded because their respective armies protected the people and sided with the people. Do you think this could happen in Syria?
Well, first of all, about the ratio of casualties, I think you're right. By far, Syria has seen the highest ratio of casualties compared to the number of days since the whole revolution erupted throughout Syria. I think compared to Yemen, Egypt or Tunisia, of course, Libya apart, the number of casualties in Syria is uncomparable. Now, talking about the army, the point is, it can go any way at this point. I don't see the Syrian army doing what the Egyptian army did. It will be most probably an issue of coming up with a formula between the dominant sect that compose Syria. Now, the best and elite trained army or units or battalions of army in the Syrian army are commanded by the Alawites, which is the sect of Assad, and these battalions are close to Assad. And we do not anticipate these battalions to be running the show in the post-Assad Syria. So I think for all practical purposes, the only way is for tribes and tribal chiefs to come together if they want to negotiate an Assad exit and come up with a plan on how Syria will proceed after Assad.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hussain Abdul-Hussain. political analyst, for your time and your insights, sir.